Hi, I'm Susan Hirsch from Meet the Experts. Bariatric surgery has been increasing in the United States for the past 10 years. Many insurance companies, though, are not actually approving the insured for this operation, or they're making it very difficult. Rhonda Christian was rejected from her insurance company, so she went to Mexico. They charge half the price there. She's now back in the United States at the Vanderbilt Hospital with a massive stroke on a respirator in a very serious state. I'm here today with Lisa Gold, who's going to share her successful gastric bypass surgery with us. So I'm anxious to hear her story. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Susan.
So at 38, you had the gastric bypass Rooney, that's the official name, surgery. And what you told me was that when you were a child, obesity was never an issue for you.
No, I was normal size. I mean, average is what you would say. And
then basically at 28 to 38, that 10-year period of time, you started to gain about 10 pounds every single year. So by the time you turned 38, you were well over 100 pounds in weight from your starting point.
Yes, I was considered clinically obese. You have to be 100 pounds overweight and have a body mass index of 40 or higher.
And obviously you were
Yes.
higher than 40.
I was, yes. I was about 269. I call it 270 just for
You might as well round it off at that
right.
point.
I was about 270 pounds at my highest weight.
So tell me, what was going on in your life during this period of time? What actually provoked all the weight gain?
Well, the first amount of weight, let's say I was, the average size I think in America is anywhere between a 12 and a 14, and I maintained probably around a 12, and then I got a job on cruise ships as a headline entertainer. And if you've ever traveled on a cruise, you know it's nothing but food, and really good food you don't have to cook and that you don't have to clean up after yourself for.
And you can have 24-hour service.
Yes, I have little toasties at room service at midnight and pizza and pasta, and I just started to gain a little bit of weight on the ships, and I probably left ships at around a size 14, 16. Being a performer, usually you would want to be thinner, but in musical theater I started to find a place as a character actress and start to get acknowledged and get more roles because of my size. So
that gave you the incentive to keep the weight on.
It was working.
It was working and people were gravitating towards you,
right.
And you were making money.
Exactly.
Gastric bypass surgery is considered major surgery. Basically, the stomach is cut. It's made into a small pouch. It's like taking a football and turning it into a little golf ball. 32 ounces to actually 2 ounces. Think about that. So I'm actually curious if you had complications after your surgery. Did you have stomach leakage, or did you have what they call dump syndrome?
Well, I didn't have stomach leakage, which I know can be a problem. They actually, before I left the hospital, they do a test where they have you drink a liquid that once they do whatever procedure, they can see if the stomach is leaking.
From where the staples are.
Yes. And so I had a very successful surgery, and I had a very, I won't say easy recovery, but for about a week, definitely taking my pain pills every 4 hours as directed. And then one day I just was not in pain anymore. But dumping syndrome is actually something that's a side effect for the rest of my life. I have definitely had that experience.
So just to explain that, that's all about eating foods that are too sugary and
or too high in fat.
The gastric band allows you to cheat, but not this operation.
Right.
So that's what I want to go into, talking to you about the adjustment, because yes, the doctor's correct. It is an adjustment physically, but mentally and emotionally, it's a whole nother ball game. So I'm curious, emotionally, how did you transition as you began to lose the weight? I mean, mentally, how did you transition through this?
Well, I'll tell you, it was really tough in the beginning. I had the surgery in June, and my first Thanksgiving meal was, I wanted to cry. I did cry, because I just even had one little bite of each thing, and I still couldn't consume one bite of turkey and the green beans and
even
the
if
mashed
you
potatoes.
wanted to.
Even if I wanted to, because at that point, just after the surgery, within the first 18 months to 2 years, your stomach, it'll send it back up if you eat too much quantity. And that happened a few times.
Did you also find that people treated you differently as you lost the weight and they saw a new Lisa Gold?
You know, Yes and no. The people that knew me before treated me the same because they know me, the person. But as a stranger, yes, I was definitely treated, I remember times walking down the aisle of an airplane and seeing the expression on people's faces, please don't sit next to me, please don't sit next to me, because I would infringe upon their space. Now when I walk down the aisle,
they're like,
I don't,
please sit next
to me.
Please, I like you. Yes, and then 20% though, there's been studies which deals with actually brutality and incest and rape. So you're right, there's a gamut of reasons why one actually...
It's a physical symptom of an internal problem for a lot of people who have a large amount of weight on them. Yeah.
So because of the loss of weight, for you, it affected your career tremendously. I'm dying to hear what your agents thought after you lost the weight. How did they market you?
Well, it's interesting because I moved to New York to do musical theater as I had in Los Angeles on the West Coast. Broadway, was my vision. And like I said, as I turned to the business side running this acting studio, I had less and less time for musical theater, so I started to pursue commercials and print. And I became known as a big girl as the person who did all the diet pill commercials, all the, the gas and indigestion pills. And when I lost the weight, my community of agents and the people I'd worked with had no idea what to do with me anymore. Because now I was just, another average-sized person.
Right, you were competing in a much
different category.
Much larger market at this point.
Correct.
So now that 9 years has passed, when you go out to dinner at a restaurant, do you have restrictions? Do you let yourself have the bread and the butter and the dessert? Or do you say to yourself, I'm not going to eat this, and you start to weigh in your mind calories?
Well, the first three considerations are first, number one, the amount of food, because I just can't consume the same amount I used to when I was larger. Like you said, a football to a golf ball. The golf ball has probably stretched out to, let's say a tennis ball, exactly. So I can have either an appetizer and just eat an appetizer, or I'll order a main meal with no appetizer, probably eat half or 3/4 of the main meal, and then I'll have a small, leftover
little
lunch
doggy bag for your little 3 dogs that are here.
I do eat bread, but I don't eat it first, because then it takes up all the room for the food that I really want to eat.
So being an entrepreneur, you co-founded the very famous Actors Connection in New York City. And then last year, you also founded Act Outside of the Box. So I am very curious, in this very difficult time in the United States, you'd go and start a business.
I'm just built that way, as they say. I don't know why. It's so interesting. Like I said, when my career, Actors Connection came about because I wanted to be my own boss and have a flexible day job so that I could pursue my acting career. And when you take on something new, you never know what life is going to bring you. I really found how much I loved and had a passion for helping other actors with my background in entertainment and my own professional career.
All the dimensions you have.
Yeah, and when as an actor you get hired for a job, yay, you get that feeling of joy and excitement. But as a facilitator for so many people to get so much work, I got to have that joy more often, and I really started to shift my focus there. And several years into owning Actors Connection, I still noticed a gap between really, really talented actors and their ability to gain work. So Act Outside the Box is a company, think outside the box.
I love the name.
Yeah, Act Outside the Box is not for acting, it's for action. The act is for action, because too many actors are...
Which it comprises of actors.
Yes.
And it's about networking.
Yes, they're waiting for something to happen, or a big break, or just getting an agent or something. They're waiting to be discovered. And we all intellectually know it's a lot of hard work, but it takes action. It takes marketing.